best in radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
You are listening to the Financial Survival Network, and with us is Jason Hartman. JasonHartman.com was in Dallas just last weekend. Got a chance to connect with Jason one-on-one again, and it's always a lot of fun. Hey, we had mutually screwed up airplane connections, and Jason, luckily I got home only a few hours late. Jason took you over a day to get home, didn't it?
Yeah, what a hassle, and American Airlines told us a lot of lies and made a lot of excuses that were invalid. So that's how they roll. But I don't know what the best airline is, Kerry. I kind of think for major airlines, I kind of like United. Their planes always seem newer. This is purely anecdotal, by the way. Just my own, experience. I haven't read anything about this comparing them, but I kind of like United Airlines a lot. I think for major, of course, I'd rather take Virgin or something better, but for major U.S. based airlines,
I think the best airline is the one that's not running into any bad weather.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way it's always been for me. If you have bad weather, then all bets are off,
Or using weather as a fake excuse.
Yeah. Well, once one flight gets screwed up, it's a cascading effect. And then they use the weather as an excuse for everything. So
yeah, a week later, it's still weather.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
Well,
so
hey, but it really was a total surprise to run into you. I was talking to some people at this conference, and I look over and I'm like, Kerry? Oh, wow. What are you doing here? And so we're at the same conference. So it was nice to hang out with you as always and discuss economics and finance and the massive scam known as the central banking cartel around the world. And it's just always great to discuss this stuff like we do on our respective podcast shows as well.
Yeah, well, hey, and the beat goes on. Janet Yellen's on today. The taper's gone, but there'll be a new caper to replace the taper, right?
Yeah, I love that. A new caper to replace the taper.
Well, they got to come up with something, because what are they going to do?
Yeah, well, as we go down this path of fiat money creation and money printing, creating money out of thin air, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. It's kind of like, if you drink 3 cups of coffee a day and then you're struggling to have any real energy and you're still lethargic and you start drinking 4, then you drink 5, then you drink 6, it loses its effect after a while. And this is the same thing that happens with money creation. It doesn't work as well as it used to. If you don't drink coffee in that example, and you have a cup, you're bouncing off the walls, right?
Yeah.
But when you drink it all the time, you become immune, and the economy does become a bit immune to this. But Kerry, rather than talking about this sort of, I'll call it this mainstream. I'll call it the mainstream of the alternative financial media, the stuff you and I cover on our shows, which is about all this. Can we talk about something a little bit different, just a different angle on this today?
Absolutely, sure. We're always open to any trend that's going on in the world, in the country, because these trends have a way of picking up and really
this one's
over.
A biggie. I think you know what I'm going to mention. I tried to bait you into a discussion on it when we were in Dallas last weekend, but that is the subject of robotics. And we've looked at throughout history, we've looked at how technology has impacted our lives and impacted the economy and impacted our standard of living. And technology is very much a deflationary force, in my opinion. At least initially it is. But then ultimately, technology creates a better standard of living, and that better standard of living leads to prosperity. And then it's kind of this cycle that keeps repeating. And it's a little hard for me to articulate this. So I don't really know exactly what to think. I'm not coming today with a big idea and a big opinion on this. I'm coming with questions, and you're so smart, and you're talking to all these brilliant people all day, and that's why I wanted to run it by you. I mean, robotics. I'm watching these videos, Kerry, about how there's one. I'm sure your listeners can find it on YouTube. It's called "Humans Need Not Apply." Humans need not apply, and it's all about what many of your listeners have heard is that basically about 40 to 45% of the jobs can be easily automated away through robotics and robotic technology. And the last several decades, we've certainly seen this, but it's coming to a crescendo, I think, where we're really looking at a significant shift, possibly. What are your thoughts?
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, it's just a question of labor cost. If labor costs go up too much, then businesses start looking for capital to invest to reduce or eliminate the labor cost. And the perfect example is right now in the US, you walk into your fast food restaurant and there's a human being there to take your order. And I was going to say take your money, but actually most people use plastic, and then your order gets put in. Or in the drive-up window, when you push the button or they take your order, the person might be in the restaurant, they might be in a call center in some low-cost area of the US, or they might even be in India. Yeah, who knows? But in Europe, because it's so hard to fire people and you basically have an employee for life, what they've done there is instead of hiring people, they put in kiosks.
Absolutely. Right? This is what happens when labor groups and unions push too hard. And certainly Detroit is a great example of this. I call Detroit the poster child for big government disaster. And it certainly is. But when labor unions just push too hard. Everything in life is a pendulum swinging back and forth from liberal to conservative, conservative to liberal. The pendulum is always swinging from labor to business, business to labor. It goes back and forth. This is just part of life, right? But these unions, I mean, they've really outlived their usefulness in so many ways. And there's very little reasons to have unions anymore. They don't have that much of a presence. And I'm talking about in the U.S., not around the world. In the U.S., the government does a very good job of protecting the worker here through safety regulations and labor laws and so forth. But, that's when companies really look for alternatives and they automate, they use robotics. And the robotics that are coming our direction very, very quickly. I mean, Elon Musk was talking about how within a year, we're going to have cars that will drive on the freeway or highway automatically, and they're going to be really starting to enter the common general marketplace. And Kerry, that's a game changer. Look, my major business, I have a few businesses, but my major business is investment property. And we help people buy investment property all over the U.S. in markets that we vet and we like. And the primary rule of real estate has always been what? The first three rules: location, right? And that's still certainly true. All real estate is local. And we look for the best local markets around the country. But when you can live, like 3 years ago, I moved from Southern California, a very expensive place, to Phoenix, Arizona, much less expensive place. And I like my life a lot better here. In so many ways, except for the summer. In the summer, sure. I just consolidate a lot of my traveling and get out of it. Although I must say, those summer storms are pretty awesome here. They're spectacular to watch. We had one last night.
Yeah.
But, when you think about it, when you can get in a self-driving car, maybe at bedtime at 11 p.m. and wake up in a high-priced place like Los Angeles after sleeping for 6 hours, well, the car does the driving for you. That changes everything.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a total game changer. And so I think the high-priced real estate markets, are going to continue to lose a lot of their luster. I mean, they have. We've seen with technology the migration out of high-priced areas to lower-priced quality of life areas. I mean, the middle class has been fleeing the Socialist Republic of California for years now, which is a completely amazing trend when historically everybody has come into California. Now the people coming into California are illegals and, as Hillary Clinton says, workers without papers. Let me be more politically correct here.
Undocumented Democrats.
Yeah. Permanent Democrats. Yeah, absolutely. But, when the only people really coming into California are workers without papers or undocumented Democrats, and the middle class, the people who are paying the tax bill, the educated class are leaving in droves. I mean, that's a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
And you layer on a self-driving car and if fuel costs stay relatively low, and we don't see Obama's stated goal as candidate Obama of $6 or $7 a gallon gas. I mean, this is a game changer. Oh. It's a total game changer.
Yeah, think about it, because what is the biggest pain that living in an exurb, assuming that you actually work in an office, and that's another thing that technology has done, is enabled millions of people to shed going to a centralized office every day. Don't have to do that. And I'm looking at a thing here called the burger robot, which is poised to disrupt the fast food industry. And, basically the thing will spit out 360 burgers an hour, which is more than any human being can do. And they'll be perfectly uniform. I'll tell you right now, I don't go to fast food hardly ever at all, unless I'm at a conference and I have no choice. Okay. That's the only time I really do. Or if I'm on the road and driving from New York to Florida, you really have limited dining options. But large portion of the population does. Forget it. The burger flipper is gone as well. And, you add in all these things. Or the other thing is, Jason, that most accidents on the road are caused by human error. And you got your Google car there, and the Google car will go at 80 miles an hour, 6 inches from the bumper of the car in front of it.
Yeah, because when the cars are networked, you don't need to worry about stopping. You can be bumper to bumper with the car in front of you.
Exactly. And they act as one. And just go from one to the next, or just getting your beer or your pizza delivered by drone or your Amazon. And granted, maybe you can't do heavy machinery or bigger items, but smaller items, maybe you don't need the post office, UPS, or FedEx to do it. And all of these changes are going to come seemingly at once. They're going to hit society. There's no preparation for it, Jason. There's no expectation other than people like you and I talking about it, and others on the internet. But there's no preparation in society for this at all.
The first thing that needs to happen is we need to repeal the minimum wage laws, or at least lower the bar, because minimum wage laws create unemployment, and they create unemployment especially harshly in the sector of, at-risk youth. And these at-risk youth, if they're not employed and they're not occupied, they're getting into trouble, committing crimes. And this is just not a good thing. I mean, I remember I got my first job when I was 14 years old, okay? And, the minimum wage laws, I remember them back then thinking minimum wage was so lucrative. It was so much money to me back then. I grew up rather poor, okay? I mean, I wasn't destitute, but, I didn't have much money either as a kid. And I would just have been totally happy if someone would have hired me for half the price of minimum wage. It would have made it easier to get a job. I could have learned some skills, and it was the minimum wage laws make it harder to get a job. They create unemployment, and the market should set the rate for wages. What business is it of the government to get in between two people that want to make a deal? If I want to work and you need me to work and you'll pay me, why do I need the government to be in there mediating our deal?
Well, it's been proven, there's been hundreds of studies. Just Google minimum wage and increased unemployment, and these studies go back to the 40s. It's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, and especially at-risk minority youths, it really increases unemployment there. It's beyond a shadow of a doubt, and yet the political discussions are held every year about it, and nobody ever seems to go back and look at these studies. Proven fact, increases unemployment, and you don't really need to talk about it any further, but, we have the debate nonstop.
Yeah.
So
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And once you increase the cost of labor, then business will always look for alternatives. And this burger flipper is a perfect example. It puts out 360 burgers an hour. And what they're saying here is the average fast food joint pays $135,000 a year for line cooks. And this thing puts out a better product.
And guess what? It doesn't get sick. It doesn't sue you. It doesn't claim that it was sexually harassed.
Well,
it doesn't spit in the burgers. It doesn't, it doesn't do any of this bad stuff. So, folks, we've got to realize, in society, it's not our listeners that need to realize this, but just society needs to realize it in general, is that we have a new competitor for our job who is pretty robust, and that's a robot, okay? And so, but here's the question you look at. I remember, Kerry, looking back into the early 1970s and, seeing videotapes of how they were predicting the end of work and how people would work no more than 3 days a week by the 90s. Well, that didn't turn out to be true at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not even close.
They're a little off on their dates.
And people really are working more than ever because the boundary technology has taken away the barrier between work and play. We're just always connected all the time. Whereas before, we'd, it was like a big deal. You were an upper management if you took a briefcase home from the office, right?
You were a suit.
The lower level worker didn't carry a briefcase. They didn't take anything home. When they went home, they were home. And that was the boundary,
Yep.
So that didn't happen. And certainly computers and the integrated circuit, the chip, created whole new industries of people that never existed before that had to fix computers and, program software and tweak software and maintain networks and all of this stuff, right? So, I don't know. I mean, is it just, will we have 45% real unemployment because of robotics in the next 5 years? I mean, this is coming fast, folks. This is not a distant thing. This is coming quick. Okay, we are on the heels of it right now. Okay?
I think you'll see it in construction. I think you will see it in agriculture, where basically the plows and the tractors will run themselves. It's starting, and it just needs a little bit of boost from cost, a little bit of decrease in the cost of implementing the technology, and also the ease of implementation. All of these factors will just make it irresistible. I mean, look, the number of people that work in a refinery, it used to be hundreds of people that would be in an oil refinery. Now it's down to dozens. And you just point automobile factories over and over, every industry that you look in, the number of industrial jobs in the U.S. has gone down for sure. The number of factories way down, but the number of people working in the factories that are left is so far below where it was. They're so much more productive due to automation technology, and then throw in the robots. I mean, a perfect example in a service industry restaurant. I'm at a Chili's a couple of months back, and I could have just ordered the meal on a tablet, on just a regular iPad they had there that had the whole menu, but I wanted something a little different, so a guy came over. But then when it came time to pay, the check was there. It even told me how much to tip the person, 18, 20, or 22%.
You didn't even have to think, right?
I didn't even have to think. Swipe my card, hit the thing, and boom. And then it asked for my email address so it could email me the receipt.
Yeah. We're really living in an amazing time. I mean, there are so many reasons to be so hopeful. Like I always talk about, the government is obviously massively in debt. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's no way out of this with math or growing an economy. You can't grow or tax your way out of this. We went beyond that point probably easily 20 years ago. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so that's not the way we're going to get out of it. The likely way is we inflate our way out of it. And I mean, severe inflation, if you look at just the numbers. But, I always like to say, technology could save us all. Like, this could be the thing that rescues us, because what we haven't really discussed yet is how deflationary this technology is. I mean, look at, granted, maybe the guy at Chili's and McDonald's loses their job, and there are some other jobs certainly created because someone has to manage and fix the robots. They'll break too occasionally, not as much as humans, but they will break and need servicing. And then there are robots that fix robots, and so at some point there's got to be someone at the top of the thing, and maybe the robots will just take over the world, and it'll be Terminator 2, right, and Skynet. But the thing is, maybe the cost of everything will just get a lot cheaper. And, if the average fast food restaurant can save $135,000 a year on that line cook you mentioned, I mean, it's multiple line cooks because they're open more than one shift, obviously, maybe the price of our burgers will just drop so much, and our life will just be better. And technology, the deflationary force of technology will offset some of the bad fiscal policy and monetary policy of our dumb government. What do you think?
Well, I think that there is got to be a deflationary aspect to it, no doubt. And, businesses will resort to it because they have no choice, because everything's heading towards technology. That is the ultimate solution. And whether it saves the country or puts us further under is really the question. And it just shows you that you need to start looking for solutions to what you're going to be doing, because the odds are you're not going to be doing what you're doing now. That much is for certain. You got to start looking for other things, and probably your solution that you offer, Jason, is one of them, and we should talk about what you're offering in Little Rock.
Yeah. So Kerry asked me before we started recording today to give away a few tickets to our upcoming Little Rock property tour and Creating Wealth conference that we are having there. And Arkansas, I mean, I was amazed to learn this, Kerry. Arkansas is far and away the most landlord-friendly state in the entire country, if not most of the world.
Really?
I mean, it is crazy how the laws are in favor of the landlord. In fact, I'm even going to step out and say this, being, big into investing and owning income property myself, that I think Arkansas goes too far. They have some old laws on the books that literally allow landlords to have tenants jailed. I'm not kidding.
That's crazy.
For non-payment of rent, okay? And if you listen to my podcast, The Creating Wealth Show, a couple of episodes ago, I actually played a 10-minute audio clip that explains this entire landlord friendliness thing in Arkansas. It's mind-boggling. Now, would I ever want to put a tenant in jail for not paying the rent? Heck no. I mean, I think that's ridiculous. Even I think that's ridiculous. Okay. Being the guy whose pocketbook might be bleeding if I get a bad apple, which, once in a while you do after you have hundreds of tenants, you're going to get a bad apple now and then. And, but the fact that the tenants know this is the thing that keeps the balance of power in check and keeps people paying their rent and taking care of business and acting like good citizens. So that's the thing. It reminds me of an old quote, and it's a good one. Your listeners might like this. A gentleman is someone who has the advantage but doesn't take it. Isn't that a good quote? A gentleman is someone who has the advantage but doesn't take it. Okay? Yep. So there you go.
Very true.
So we've got a property tour and a Creating Wealth conference where I do 9 hours of education. This is easily the most popular event we've ever done. I've had thousands and thousands and thousands of people see this presentation over the years. And we talk all about monetary policy, fiscal policy, investing, the inflation-deflation debate. We talk about how to pick the best markets in which to invest, how to structure a real estate deal, how to evaluate a real estate deal, my 10 commandments of successful investing. And we do that on Saturday. And I believe that's September 27th. It's the end of September, the last weekend. And then on Sunday, we go and we look at actual investment properties in Little Rock. We've got a fantastic hotel there and a nice bulk room rate for our guests. And we'll give away three free tickets to the event. Okay,
that's cool. Just give the email address for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can just email contact@jasonhartman.com. That's contact @jasonhartman, and that's Hartman, contact@jasonhartman.com. And shoot us an email. Say you want to go. We'll hold a little raffle, and we'll give away three free tickets to the event. And a ticket includes 2 people, by the way. So you can bring your significant other, and we'll do that for Kerry's listeners. Just mention you heard me on FSN, Financial Survival Network, Kerry Lutz's show, and we will draw names and get back to you within about a week and pick the winners, so you have more than enough time to make your travel plans if you're coming in from out of the area, and that'll be great. Okay.
All right. That sounds terrific, Jason. Thanks so much. And just remember, contact@jasonhartman.com. Jason, that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I will try to make it myself. Thanks for coming on, and you be well.
All right. Happy investing to you and your listeners, Kerry.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.